Okay, guys, so today we're going to go over ratios. So this next part we're going over for this unit are ratios, rates, and percent. So basically they all are going to get set up pretty much the same. So the first thing we need to know, just like I told you before, is we need to set it up as a proportion. Okay, ratios, rates, they are all proportions. So that would be A over B equals A over B. So we're matching like with like. Okay, let me open this up really quick. Okay, so like with like. So if they tell me they go miles in hours, I'm going to label A miles A and hours B. And my numbers that are the with the miles go in the A column, the A spots, and the numbers that were with hours go in the B spots. Okay, so label them so you can have it, know which is A and which is B. Okay, so like this does the same thing. Always place like with like. So miles and kilometers, miles go in the A spots, kilometers go in the B spots. If they have the same label, they need to be placed across from each other in the equal sign. Okay, so these two should always have the same label on them. Okay, so when it comes to ratios, a ratio is a comparison of two or more numbers. In this case, we're going to have just two numbers, okay, because we're just going to set up two. So they either look like this, A over B equals A over B. They can be A to B. They can be A colon B or A over B. Okay, so these all mean the same thing. It's just written in different things. Usually we see them as fractions, but if you see it with this colon or with the two in it, it's gonna mean the same thing. Okay, like I said, set up your proportion and then solve for the missing letter. Solve for whatever's missing. So let's look at this. This says there are 6 boys. So I'm going to circle this 6 boys in Miss Jenny's dance class. If the ratio of boys to girls is 2 to 5, how many boys are in the class? So I know I have, let's just say how many girls are in the class. Sorry, how many girls are in the class. Okay, so I'm going to label boys as A. So boys is going to be A and girls is going to be B. Okay, so I know there's 2 boys for every 5 girls. Okay, so this is boys and this is girls. So it says 2 boys to every 5 girls because it says boys to girls. So boys is 2 and girls is 5. Okay, I'm going to set that equal. And they already tell me that there are 6 boys in the class. So I'm going to put that 6 where the boys are. And then, let me zoom that in a little bit so you can see a little better. There we go. And then I'm trying to find out what that girl's spot is. So I'm just going to keep the B there. And that's what I'm going to solve for. Okay. Remember, okay, so you always cross multiply. So we're going to multiply that. And then we're going to divide it by the number on the outside. Okay, so we're going to do 5 times 6, which is 30. And then we're going to divide that by 2. And 30 divided by 2 is 15. Okay, and that's my answer. 15 girls are in the class. Okay. Okay, let's move on. So let's do an example. Let's do another example. The ratio of dogs to cats at a pet show is 5 to 3. So I know my 2 things that I'm working with here are dogs and cats. And it says 5 to 3. So the first one was dogs and the second one was cats. So I'm going to write that down. I'm going to do dogs to cats. Dogs and cats. Okay? So the top is going to be dogs and the bottom is going to be cats. So I know there are 5 dogs for every 3 cats. See, dogs is 5, cats is 3. If there are 18 cats, so this says 18 cats. So I'm going to put that on the bottom because that's cats. So we're still looking for how many dogs there are total. Okay. So let's look. Multiply those numbers. So if they're diagonal, we're going to multiply those and then divide by that. So multiply and then divide. So 18 times 5 8 times 5 is 40. 5 times 1 is 5, plus 4 is 90. Okay, and then we're going to divide that by 3. Okay, 3 goes into 9 3 times, and then we have a 0. So there are 30 dogs. Don't forget your labels. 30 dogs at the pet show. Okay, seems pretty easy. Let's do another one. This one's going to be a little bit harder. So it says, at a daycare, there are 13 boys. The ratio of boys to girls, so we're doing boys to girls again. Boys to girls is 2 to 3. So 2 boys for every 3 girls. And it says we have 13 boys. So I'm going to write that up here. So that means we need to find our girls. But this one, let's look, it says how many total students are there at the daycare. So I need to find how many girls I have, and then I need to add it onto my boys to find total students. So let's do that first. Let's find girls first. 3 times 13 divided by 2. Okay, so we have 13 times 3. That's 3 times 3 is 9. 3 times 1 is 3. Okay, and then we're going to divide that by 2. Uh-oh, that didn't come out to a whole number. Okay, we're going to round this. Okay, so let's pretend that's 40. 40 divided by 2 would be 20. Okay, so there's 20 girls. Okay, and then what I'm going to do is I'm going to, because I want the total students, I'm going to add the girls and the boys. So I know there's 13 boys, so I'm going to do 20 plus 13, which gives me 33 total students, okay? So if it asks for the total, you need to add the 2 numbers that you were given. So you will find one, like we found girls, and then we're going to add that back on to how many boys we have to find how many our total students are. Okay. Okay, so now we're moving on to rates. Okay, so we're going to move on to rates. And there are different kinds of rates, guys. We have unit rates, we compare measurements with rates, and we do speed with rates as well. Okay, and all of these still, we're going to set up a proportion. There's speed is maybe a little bit different, but most of the time we set up proportion. Okay, so a unit rate is always, one part of the formula is always over 1. So we're always trying to find what a singular one means. So like if you look at this example, it says, what was the cost of each movie ticket? So 1 additional. So I'm going to have that set up like A over B equals A over 1, because I'm always trying to find what 1 is. Okay, so this second B is always going to be 1. So in this case, when we're trying to we pay $52 for 4 movie tickets. That means my labels are dollars, the amount, and tickets, how many tickets they have. Okay, so in this case, we paid $52 for 4 movie tickets. Okay, and we are trying to find out how many dollars it is for 1 movie ticket. Okay, so that's what a unit rate is going to do. Okay, so that's what it's going to do. So that second one is always going to be over 1 when they're looking for just the cost of one singular thing, or comparing it to one singular thing. So let's look. So we want to make sure so in comparing measurements, we want to make sure we put like with like. Okay, so if I'm using gallons and liters, the same thing. Gallons are going to be on top and liters are going to be on the bottom. Okay, so here, same thing. Jonah bought 11 gallons of gasoline, so we're going to use gallons for one of them. There are approximately 3.8 liters in 1 gallon, so liters is going to be my other one. Okay, and this is it's the same kind of proportions. We're just using converting from our standard measurement to metric measurement. Okay, so he bought 11 gallons of gasoline. Okay, and there are approximately 3.8 liters in 1 gallon. So for 1 gallon, I'd use 3.8 liters. Okay, you see that? 3.8 liters in 1 gallon. So we are trying to find this right here. How many liters did he buy if you bought 11 gallons. So same thing, multiply this and then divide by 1. Okay, we didn't solve that up here, but that's okay. So we're going to do 11 times 3.8. This is easy. 8 times 1 is 8. 8 times 1 is 8. 0 placeholder. 3 times 1 is 3. 3 times 1 is 3. Okay, 8 plus 0 is 8. 8 plus 3 is 11. 3 plus 1 is 4. And I have one number after a decimal here, so I'm going to put that one. So my answer is 41.8 liters. Always put your label there. Okay, we divide by 1. So anytime I divide by 1, it's going to stay the same, which is why we didn't have to do any division here. Okay, so let's move on to some speed stuff. So if I'm looking at speed, we're going to multiply our miles per hour and the number of hours, and then we're going to add totals together to find our answer. Okay, so speed is a little different. We don't necessarily have to set up a proportion here. So it says Marianne drove 50 miles per hour for 2.5 hours. So miles per hour. So I'm going to multiply these two together, 50 times 2.5, to find out how many miles she drove in that 2.5 hours. So let's do that first. 5 times 0 is 0. 5 times 5 is 25. Okay, 0 placeholder. 2 times 0 is 0. 2 times 5 is 10. Then add 0, 5, 2, 1. One number behind the decimal, so there's that. So this one was 125 miles, okay? So we're going to keep that in mind, okay? And then I'm going to do the next one, 75 miles per hour for 3 hours. So now I'm going to multiply those two, 75 times 3. 5 times 3 is 15. 7 times 3 is 21, plus 1 is 22. So that's 225. So these are two separate things, so I need to add them to find the total amount she drove. So we're going to do 225 plus 125. 5 plus 5 is 10. 2 plus 2 is 4, plus 1 is 5, and 2 plus 1 is 3. So 350 miles total were driven. Okay, so that one's pretty simple. We don't have to set up any proportion or anything. So let's do a couple of examples. Miss Baker is baking cookies for her coworkers. Okay, she uses 432 chocolate chips. So she's using chocolate chips, so I'm going to put CC for chocolate chips, okay, to make 36 cookies, okay? So we have chocolate chips and cookies. Okay, so my first one, it said 432 chocolate chips, so we put that on top, and 36 cookies, so we put that on bottom. Okay, how many chocolate chips does she use in one cookie? So this is a unit rate, so one cookie is going to go right down here. And we're looking for how many chocolate chips are in one cookie. So let's see, we multiply those and then divide by that. So 432 times 1 is 432. So all I have to do is divide that by 36, okay? 36 goes into 43 once. Let's subtract. 13 minus 6 is 7. That's 72. And 36 goes into 72 twice. Okay, so my answer is 12 chocolate chips. I'm just going to put CC. Are in each cookie. Okay, let's look at the next one. A piece of paper has a length of 11.5 inches. So it's inches. So I'm going to put inches. If every 2 inches is about 5 centimeters, so centimeters, so we're doing inches to centimeters. How long is the paper in centimeters? Okay, so I know it's 11.5 inches, and we're trying to find how long it is, okay? But I also know that 2 inches is 5 centimeters, okay? So we're going to multiply those two and then divide by the 2. Okay, so 11.5 times 5. 5 times 5 is 25. 5 times 1 is 5, plus 2 is 7. And then 5 times 1 is 5. And I have 1 behind the decimal, so it's 57.5. And then I'm going to divide that by 2. So I'm going to do 2 goes into 57.5. Okay, 2 goes into 5 twice. 2 times 2 is 4. 4 times 2 is 6. 6 times 1 is 4. 4 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 times 1 is That's 1. Bring down the 7. 2 goes into 17. 8 times. That's 16. 2 goes into 15 7 times. That's 14. And 2 goes into 10 5 times. So it's 28.75 centimeters is how long it is. And that's our answer. Okay. And then the last one. Jeremiah has to drive 600 miles to get to his parents' house. 600 miles. Okay. I'm going to see if I can fit it down here. Okay. If every 5 miles represents 8 kilometers, how many kilometers did he drive to his parents' house? So this is a proportion right here, this kind of speed. Not like the other speed, but I want you to know the other speed, okay? So he drove miles to kilometers. So he drove 600 miles, and we want to know how many kilometers that is. Okay, if 5 miles represents 8 kilometers, how many kilometers did he drive? 600 times 8 divided by 5. So 600 times 8. 0, 0, 8 times 6 is 48. And then we're going to divide that by 5. Divided by 5. 5 goes into 48 9 times. That's 45. And it goes into 30 6 times. And that's going to be a 0 at the end. So it was 960 kilometers. Okay. And that's about it with ratios and rates, guys. Okay. So if you need to, you can rewind and go back and pause if you need to, if I went too fast. If you have any questions, you can always email me, message me. You know how to get a hold of me by now. Okay. But I hope you guys have a great day. Thanks. Bye.